So this article is a few weeks old, but it's still relevant. When Obama signed the NDAA Act, a couple of people got butt mad, but not to the extent that they did over SOPA, which says something about people. You know, God forbid the government should regulate internet and hold moderators accountable, but then to give government absolute control over the economy and shit, the so-called conservatards, don't raise a ruckus. So essentially, the NDAA, besides being able to declare martial law in peacetime, allows the government to branch off all sectors of the market into categories dictated by secretaries. I will link to the article below because I'm not going to be able to recite all of them by heart. But essentially there's a Secretary of Agriculture, a Secretary of Defense, a Secretary of Human Health and Resources, and things like that. And these secretaries are bound to certain things that they can control, and there's about 6 of them. And there's a reason why I like this. Now, I know by the sound of my voice it doesn't sound like I like it, but I do think that this is a good step for the United States. And the reason why is because, A, I'm a federalist. I don't believe in Confederate states. I don't believe in tribal law. I believe if one law applies to one group of people, it should apply to all groups of people. But more than that, this oligarchy, I would prefer the term monarchy, because when you have like 6 or 7 people running everything, that's as close to monarchy as you're going to get, especially in our huge society. So you have these 6 people that can dictate all these institutions, and then the president is the mediator between them. If ever there is a dispute between one secretary and another, the president comes to the ultimate conclusion to keep the peace. And I prefer this system because this is how a government should be ran. It should not be ran as tribal law. It should not be ran as a clusterfuck of democracy. It should not be ran as another type of clusterfuck of the republic. This is a council. And by having this council, it gets rid of the motivation for corruption and lying and swindling and working with corporations. Because if you control this large sector, what incentive do you have to, get bribes and shit? You already have the political power. At that point, money is not a concern. And more than that, if you separate them into categories and you have like 6 or 7 people running everything, then that in turn secures your country from going into chaos, being ultra competitive with each other. You never have to worry about poverty or, economic collapse or anything of that sort when you have this oligarchy. When you have this monarchy, essentially everyone is getting along. The leaders have no reason to lie to one another, but backstab one another, conspire against each other, and they have no reason to act that way toward their people either, because it's not about power anymore. It's about governing. Who'd have thought? So that's the good thing about monarchy. Now, it's not a practical system as we commonly think of it, as just one guy, dictating everybody else, nor would I want that. And it's not practical for, to have 1,000 people as the Senate floor, and then nothing gets done. I mean, even though I would prefer the 1,000 people over the one dictator, obviously. But when you have a few people running things, but at the same time, more than one, clearly, you get that perfect balance, I believe. You get that perfect balance of there will be conflict, and there will be, things that they debate on, which will secure our rights that they're busy debating as opposed to imposing. And at the same time, shit gets done, because it's just not this clusterfuck fueled by greed and bribery and, all that other bullshit. The problem with the republic, with the Senate republic we have now, is that it's too easy to just lobby your way to the top. It has nothing to do with what the government actually wants to do. It has nothing to do with the will of the people. It's just, they're lobbying firms, give them money to vote a certain way, and then they do it. There's no incentive here for that. Because if you already have 6 people in absolute control, and then they have the mediator president in between them to, make them all get along, there's no it's all about efficiency. At that point, it's no longer about, rising to the top and then, stepping on people below you and just waiting for the cash to flow in to vote the way they want you to. None of that could exist in such a system. Now, if you disagree with me, you can post below and, point that out. But that's the conclusion I come to by, thinking about this monarch system. And, it was John Allen Martin Jr. that got me to thinking about the virtues of monarchy. Now, mind you, this is not communism. This is not my ultimate goal. I do not think that this is simply where we should stop and everything's fine and dandy. I believe that this is a good step toward communism. I believe once the, entire sector of not redistribution, like the entire sector of everything, the means of production themselves are owned by the government and maintained by the government and dictated by the government, which represents the people. It is only a matter of time before the people themselves become owners of it and become free, and there is no absolute authority. We don't need authority. We don't need to be told what to do. We don't need to be, imposed and thrown in jail or any of that shit. That is backwards. That is barbaric. But the only way we're going to move forward is to try new things. And to my knowledge, there's never been a system of government quite like that. There's never been quite a strict oligarchy like that. And by extension, when the government is running everything and it's this very tightly knit sector, after a while, their presence will not be needed anymore. I mean, they could still be there for semantics and for gesture, but after a while, things will just run accordingly. And you will no longer need those leadership positions. I'll put it this way. There's less class hierarchy in having 7 guys running the whole country as opposed to 1,000 guys, getting the vote however the fuck they want to, and we have to hope that they're not susceptible to bribes or corruption or their own selfish motivations. And it's certainly better than direct democracy where the mob can be, persuaded to do anything because, quite frankly, people are fucking stupid. So, given those options, this seems like the best course of action. Now, you might disagree with me, and I might see your point, but as of now, this seems like the best sort of socialism to move toward communism. And I guess that's all I have to say. Leave your comments below. That's it.